Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach, and today we have with us Ryan Cote, who's the Director of Digital Services and Partner at Ballantine. Ryan, welcome to the program.
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Hey, give us a little bit of background on yourself and what is Ballantine? I know you are the Digital Services Director, but what is the focus and what does Ballantine do for your clients?
Sure. So, Ballantine's a family-owned business going back to the mid-'60s. I'm third generation. My great-uncle started the company in '66. Started out doing print. Obviously, there wasn't the digital side of things back then. And then over the last 54 years, we've evolved to still handling a lot of direct mail for travel, nonprofits, et cetera. And now we have a full team for digital marketing from SEO to paid search, content, social media, et cetera, all your traditional strategies. Now we've kind of got both sides of the marketing pie covered. That's Valentine. Personal note, live in Jersey, married, 3 kids, which keeps me very busy. So that's me.
Yeah, and I see in your bio, father to 3 girls, so I'm sure that you've got the princess parties and the Frozen 2 planned and all of those kind of fun things.
Funny you say it. My wife's actually taking my oldest daughter to Frozen tonight to see the play in New York City. Crazy. So, yes, that is my world.
Yeah, I've got 3 daughters and a son, and they're all, between 15 and 21 now, but I remember the days of, you got to sit there and watch, Disney's Dancing Princesses and things like that. So, but fortunately, a lot of my daughters or several of them were like, hey, let's go through football. So, that's kind of fun that way. So awesome. Hey, give me a little bit of an idea, because you really laid out a whole lot of services that you guys work with. And I'm sure you didn't start off that way, but it came about over the years through necessity where a client was asking for something. And then you thought, well, let's get proficient at this because we start hearing this need. So what is the main thing that Ballantine provides for clients? If you were to have like one kind of foundation or two foundational services, what is it that you're kind of known for?
We started off doing, when we first started, when it was just me, we started doing SEO, search engine optimization. That's what I knew best.
Yeah.
And then you're right, over the years, we just started adding team members and services. But I would really say it's really hard to boil down to 2 because if I look at what we do literally every single day, it's really 4 things. It's SEO, paid search, social media, and content. Those are the 4 things that we do literally every single day.
And as a marketer, I would suspect that there is a really strong tie between those 3. Tell me from your perspective how SEO relates to pay-per-click campaigns, which then also relates to content marketing.
Yeah, Mike, you're actually hitting on something that we're starting to preach more and more, trying to get the team. We all sit in like a stand-up desk pod area, but everyone's got their own specialties, SEO or paid or social content. But we're trying to get the team to work together because we do see better results for clients when all the channels are integrated. And that's just not like to make more revenue. It's because they really do all work together. Like if we're doing SEO and paid search for a client, that's all keyword based. And so I want the teams to be speaking to each other because the paid team is going to get keyword data back much faster than the SEO team. So I want those ideas to be shared. But then really the social and the content team, they need the keyword ideas too because the keywords will help them come up with blog topics. They'll help them shape out their content calendar for social media, like what's popular to write about. So there really is synergy, not to mention, if we're doing paid search and there's remarketing and all the stuff that we're doing, like social and content, it's driving people to the site. They're then going to get remarketing when they leave. When we run Facebook ads, we generally see a bump in organic for brand searches because the brand's out there more people are seeing it, and they're going to search on Google to research the company. So they all are kind of intertwined for sure.
You said something really unique right then, and it's something that I've said for several years, which is this. You need to have that omni-channel. We get that. You need to be on social. Got that. But I say that people, in addition to search for keywords, because SEO for many brands is critical, but there's an other element of search that people don't take into consideration, which is this. They hear about you from friend or business colleague, or they see a social campaign, and they don't go the normal channel, which is let's click on this and learn about whatever, because they know that's the sales channel. They go Google either the company name or the owner or whoever put out that piece of content. And if that is the case, if that's what you're seeing too, that's a whole other realm of needing to have that visibility really pristine, because if you put in a certain keyword and find that company's website, okay, wonderful, check that box. But if you Google the company and you see bad reviews or just kind of like a wasteland, like nothing really going on other than their website,
Yep.
I think that searchers want to see other things like, hey, there's great reviews. Hey, they were featured in. Hey, they were a part of this summit, or they were a keynote speaker at. What are you finding that way with your clients that you work with?
No, I think you're exactly right. I think, the starting point really is having a strong Google My Business profile, because that's going to trigger when someone searches for your brand. Usually it's at the time of this recording, it's usually in the right sidebar. So you want to make sure that you have your information claimed in Google My Business and have that fully filled out, photos, get all the reviews that you can, because when someone sees you on Facebook or wherever and they do a search for your company on Google to learn more about you, that Google My Business is going to trigger. So you want that to kind of pre-sell you. So we're always pushing clients to get reviews. We fully fill out the Google My Business listing, do the Google posts, all the features that Google allows in Google My Business right now, because that is going to be in your face when you're doing a brand search. But I think, you're right about, what's showing up for your search results. Do you have all your social media profiles claimed? Is there any bad press? I would even go back to the website too and make sure that you've got a really, really rock solid about page, which kind of ties into what we're talking about here, because usually that's depending on the business, of course, but usually that's a very highly visited page on a site, because if you're on someone's website and you're looking to do business with them or whatever the case is, buy from them, you see the about page, you want to know who you're buying from. And so, we try to, stress with our clients and with our own site too, to have a really strong, compelling about page that makes you stand out.
Well, I would even say this, and I don't know whether your company does, or let me ask, does your company do design, like graphic design and website design? Because not just the about page, but you better hope that your website sparkles and pops and is not stuck in the 90s.
Yeah, we do design, and you're right. Yeah, definitely. And that even, and going back to the conversation we're having about synergy, that even ties into SEO now. Yep. It's, because usability is a factor for Google. If they see people bouncing quickly, or if they see, your page, your average page, views per session is really low, it's going to affect your SEO. It's hard to have high rankings when you've got a website that doesn't keep people engaged and they're just bouncing like crazy. Eventually it just erodes your rankings.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I know we were talking before we started the interview about how to get, blog posts and doing interviews and things like that. And one thing as far as bounce and time on the page is if you had, here's this blog post and it's about, regular size blog post, wonderful. Google sees fresh content. Google sees relative semantic keywords, wonderful. But then the other thing is if you had that same blog post with the actual embed code of the interview, the podcast interview or whatever, right there, now people are either reading through it and staying a few more seconds or listening to it at the same time. And that keeps someone right on that page or post, and Google sees that, and that helps with then the time on the page. So I think there's all these little nuggets that people can realize, like, ooh, wait a minute here. It's not just here's my website. It needs to have a vibrant about page. It needs to have a pleasing look and feel to the website and the page. And then furthermore, it's got to be really helpful educational content. And I know that with your content team, that's what you're teaching and preaching to your clients is, how can you be that educator? Don't just throw up information, put, helpful information that helps guide your prospects through the buyer's journey.
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to, before we started recording, we were talking about, doing transcription content, basically interviewing our clients and then transcribing their knowledge into a blog post. We're trying to angle that a lot towards like question and answer type topics, especially with voice search coming up and stuff like that. And plus Google, they're in the business of answering questions. So we're trying to focus a lot on like question and answer, like sort of like FAQ style content, very keyword rich. And you're right. You want to, if you remember back in the day, you could do like a 300-word blog post and call it a day.
Yeah.
Well, nowadays it's much different. You're, keyword rich content, images, a lot of visuals, video if you can, like you said, the embed, any embeds that you have, avoid like a big gigantic block of copy that's going to look very daunting to read. Break it up, white space, headlines, subheadlines. The listeners here might be thinking there's a lot to think about, and there is, but you just create a checklist. You create a checklist once, and then you just follow the checklist.
Yeah, and you mentioned frequently asked questions, and I would even take it a step further. And years ago, I heard this from Mike Koenig's, which I'm sure he didn't even come up with it, but it's like the FAQ. Yeah, that's the things we normally get. But how about the SAQ, the should ask questions? And these are the questions that Ballantine sits down with your client and goes, okay, guys, let's create our content plan. We're going to do blog posts. We're going to do all these things. Give me the top 10 frequently asked questions. And your client goes, here we go. Easy, 10. But hold up. Now the next step is give me 10 more that are should ask questions. These are the questions that should be asked, but they don't even know to ask them because they don't know what they don't know. And if they went deeper and went down and go, well, yeah, that's all fine and good that I understand this, but how does this relate to that? What if and you go down to these deeper questions, and that really starts now optimizing that buyer's journey, because so many of our customers make decisions based on deeper questions than just the how much is and how does this work. So now you have a whole new set of questions that is education based, however you're going to get it, interview, video, audio, blog, it doesn't matter. But I think getting that into the mind of the consumer is huge. Is there a certain way that you work with your clients to help them get into the mind of their consumer to draw their prospects to them?
Well, before I answer that, I love the should ask questions. I'm going to make a note of that, so I'm definitely going to implement that. Go. So we do a few things. Like when we kick off a client, we do a whole positioning statement exercise with them. So it helps us do our job better, but we dig deep into like who buys for them, why they buy, like what resonates with them, who's the target audience. It's like a 3-hour meeting where we try to pull out as much information as possible. But then in terms of like content topics, we always have conversations with clients, like what products or services are important to you right now. We look at keyword data and keyword trends and try to, make some recommendations using that data. So we look at different, I guess, data sets to determine what the topic should be. And that's using keywords, but also getting input from the client, what they're seeing in their business, what they're seeing in their industry. And then we try to tie that all together into the content calendar across the blogs, but also social media, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like if you said, okay, we've got this one, let's just call it this one really meaty question, and we're going to now create all this content around this. So we're going to create, and then like you said, this checklist. Well, you could have the entire editorial calendar, content creation calendar for the entire year for a brand built out with probably, call it 12, one a month, but 10 to 12 of these really, really good questions, because now it almost could be, once a week, we're going to put out a piece of content around this question. It's going to be a video first, then it's going to be audio, then a blog post, then a social, and then we're going to do all, just like you're saying, but you're following this process where you're almost drawing people in, where you're starting off with the easiest things, kind of like micro commitments. Their prospects understanding this thing is like, okay, yeah. And then it's kind of getting deeper and deeper. And then all of a sudden the prospect, in a sense, is going, hold up. You mean that this company does this and this, and I need to understand that? We need to talk. And you can't just jump right into the most deepest point. So do you have a process where maybe even in your social or your content marketing, you're starting off with your clients and kind of saying, hey, let's put out this piece of content, but we're going to kind of start off a little bit, gentle, and then we're going to get deeper and more complex. You always want to keep it clear and concise, but do you have a process that way as well?
I mean, we try to, so if we're looking at like social media specifically, we do try to have a very diverse content mix of, yes, we're going to push the client's products and services, but we're also going to educate their audience. So we come up with content calendars that include a wide variety. So from educational industry news, little tidbits, we do social media and all digital for a dental association. And so we've started to, we manage all their social media, and so they do a lot of trade shows and events, so we're always putting out videos and kind of like teasers, like here's what you may have missed at the event. But also we've started building out like this whole glossary section on their site, all dental terms. There's a ton of them, and we're chipping away. Every month we do, a few dozen of them, and then we're teasing people on social media, like, did you know that this dental term means this? And then we're driving people to the site. So whenever we're creating content, we always try to find that balance between like education and sales and other things that are going to make set the client apart from their competitors.
Rebrand by Donald Miller?
I've heard the book. I haven't read it.
I would recommend getting it. It's super, super good read. One of the things in there that he talks about is that if you confuse, you lose. So when you mentioned the dental terms, I was thinking, how do you say this one term in layman's terms? Like, well, that's kind of like, whatever. So, here's this term. You're going to hear it out there. You're going to see it online. You're going to, see this phrase. But what that really means is it is whatever. So I think that's what you're saying is, boy, you're helping that dental client, their prospects, understand these terms in layman's terms so that they really can reach out and go, oh, I understand what that is now.
Yeah, exactly. It was also a strategic move too, because they wanted more students. And so, oftentimes people searching for these dental terms are students that are doing research or whatever, and that's still a prospect for them. And so, but I like the idea of simplifying it too. I'll have to look at what we're doing, make sure to revisit it, make sure that we're definitely simplifying it, and I'll take a look at that book as well.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
One other thing I wanted to mention while we're on the topic of content, Mike, is we're seeing good success with not just coming up with new content ideas, but also kind of revisiting old blog posts that we've already published and then refreshing them. Not changing too much, because we'll look for blogs that are doing very, very well. So we don't want to change too much because you don't want to disturb the ranking factors, But what we do is, if it's a blog post that's doing very, very well, we'll leave the metadata alone. We'll leave the title alone. We'll typically leave the blog post alone. We'll just add more to it. So if it's like an 800-word blog post, maybe we add another 400 words to it. Update it if it needs to be updated, if the information is not accurate anymore. But whenever we double down on a blog post, especially one that's doing already well, and by well, I'm looking at Google Search Console and the organic stats, it almost always increases the numbers. And so that's been kind of a tried and true for us, especially for clients where we've been doing content for years.
For a while.
Well, now we have this whole.
Yeah. So why not just do the same thing but totally different? you know how people say that? It's like, oh, this is just like that, but it's totally different. But why not do a new blog post and reference the old one and do an internal link back to the old one, but call it part 2 and do all the updated content and go, hey, since we published this post, it was so popular in whatever, but since then some new research has come up, and since then a new technique or whatever the post was talking about. So then you're not messing with the old post, but you're referencing it. But then now you've got some new content that you're bringing in. That could be something to look at as well, I would suspect.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that definitely could work. I mean, if we have a blog post that's really popular, maybe it's like the top 5 ways to whatever, and sometimes we'll splinter that out into 5 different blog posts. So going deeper into each point, and then link back to the original. So it sounds similar. Both ideas are
exactly not one's right, not one's wrong. It's just like a different way to look at it. So you had said a second ago, at the time of this recording, Google My Business is on the right here. Yeah, well, in 10 minutes it's going to change. So with that thought in mind, let's think about voice search. So I think we're on the cusp of this frontier where you've got, hey Alexa, and there's businesses like you mentioned, dental. I'll bet you that voice search is a massive opportunity, that new frontier for dental or any service-based local type business. What are you seeing that businesses should be considering with voice search, and how could you help them achieve that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you how we're addressing it. I'm sure if you ask me this question 6 months or a year, I'll have evolved it or introduced new ideas to it as we learn more. But the way we're addressing it right now is going back to the FAQ style content, so blog content, or even even service product pages that answers questions. A blog, obviously it's much more natural to write it in FAQ style. For the service and product pages, we're experimenting with injecting like FAQ blocks into that content. So we're still getting the question and answer content in there, but in a more natural way because it's a product service page. And in the blogs, obviously, we could just write that as a question and answer style piece of content. And then also just making the content very conversational. Of course, we're doing keyword research for each blog post. We go deeper and add, what's called LSI keywords, like related keywords into the content to try to make it as diverse as possible when it comes to keywords. So if Google comes to a blog post about, say, direct mail, they're going to expect, if it's a good piece of content, they're going to expect to see print, USPS, postage. So we just try to make the content really diverse. That's the first part. The second part is, and this is something that we've been getting deeper into over the last 12 months, is just schema. Making sure that all our all the clients' websites, between their address, anything we can tag with schema, we do. So I see that playing a role in voice search as well, because schema just helps Google understand the content and the website better. And so, naturally. Well,
what? It's kind of like what I said about that book. We as marketers need to keep in mind, if you confuse, you lose. Well, we as SEO content marketers need to keep in mind to Google, if you confuse Google, you lose. So that's where the schema comes in.
Yeah, exactly.
So good. Let's wrap up with what is one thing that you would say to someone listening to this that might say, you know what, there's something in my organization or business or company that maybe Ballantine could help with. What's the best way they could reach out, and maybe do you offer a free conference or initial consultation where you can kind of learn a little bit about the business? What would you recommend to reach out and connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. So on LinkedIn, for sure, Ryan Cote. It's spelled, last name is Cote. First name Ryan, Ryan. Definitely connect me on LinkedIn. Our website is a good spot, of course, as well. That's Ballantine.com. B as in Bob, Allantine, Ballantine.com. So either way, connect with me. For your listeners, if they want me to do a free video analysis of their website, I will. I'll take 10 minutes and go through their whole site, their SEO, all the marketing, social media, and just give my feedback over a screen share video, free of charge.
Excellent. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for coming on today. It was really great chatting with you about the industry and what you guys do for your clients. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Mike. You too.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.